Welcome back to Girls Across the Pond, episode 9.
Episode 9. If we're not pros by now, if we're still screwing up, I don't know what. We're glad you're joining us today. We have lots of good things to talk about. In fact, so much we had to cut a few bits because there's so much going on. Aside from everything you have going on right now in your life, you've been in the studio so much. I've not wanted to bother you. I feel like we haven't talked in so long because you're so involved right now. But we've got some fun things about some personal quirks and irrational fears that are could bring up some very interesting topics. And I have another fun quiz for you in the end.
Awesome. How are you? How was your week?
Oh my gosh, it's good. You know what? I am not in Florida right now. I have come back to Colorado. I'm done with Florida. I've had enough. Back in Colorado.
She hated it so much she picked it up and moved within a week.
That's a lie. I love it in Florida. I just had some business to take care of this week. So I flew back over the weekend, and it was tragic because I left there in flip-flops and 80-degree weather and sunshine and birds chirping and the water flowing and the gentle breezes. I swear it's Eden where I live. I absolutely love it. And I'm here in Colorado, and it is 37 degrees right now, and it's snowing outside. And it's April, which it's all wrong. Snow in April.
You just like tropical weather.
Oh my God. I love snow in the winter. I'll even handle it on my birthday, which is January. But I'm telling you, March, April, May, no snow. Stop it. And it's snowing today.
So wow, tell me how you really feel.
I know. Anyways, it is nice to be back. It felt really good to walk back. We still have our townhome here. I flew into the Springs, which is a great airport, Colorado Springs Airport. If you can fly in there, it's very nice. Not that Denver is bad, but it's very far away, about an hour and a half away from my house. But we flew into the Springs. I flew into the Springs, and it was just a quick drive right up the freeway. And walking in here, when you have a house that's just kind of waiting for you, everything was tidy, and Dad left it before, and everything was vacuumed, and I just felt like, oh, this is great.
See, that's not that bad.
It's not that bad. But we have to remember to clear the refrigerator when we leave. There's some old milk in there, and we had some loaves of bread here that had grown little beards. Like
lovely
projects. So we're still getting the hang of the two house thing. But anyways, I'm only here for a couple of days, so it's not so bad. But I'm in Colorado. How are you doing, darling?
I am absolutely exhausted.
You sound tired. Ugh.
Well, we're recording this at 10:30 at night for me. I haven't been sleeping well. I've just been so busy with school assignments. Like today I had on Mondays I have like an in-person lecture in the studio where we like are just like going over a recording studio, and that's an hour long. And we had that, and then my same group that's doing that, we have an assignment due on Thursday this week, like one of our really, really big assignments that we've been working on literally since we started our first year. Like it's a really big one. That's due on Thursday. So we all went for 4 hours. Oh my God. Into a mixing room and just sat and listened to the same track and mixed it all down. So
the same song?
The same 2 songs. It's 2 different. It's a 10-minute portfolio worth of material, and one was a 6-minute jazz song and the other one was a 3-minute rock song, and mixed both of those down and got them ready for submission. But I feel like production is like music production is very underratedly exhausting because there's doors closing because my flatmates are leaving, so sorry if you guys hear loud slams in the background. I can't control the doors, but yeah, I feel like production is like underratedly exhausting because not only are you like studio sessions can last like a really long time, like just to be in a studio like in the same room for like 4 hours sitting at a computer and just like focusing on that, like hyper fixating on something, can be really exhausting, especially when you're just listening to something. But not only do you have to do that, but you have to like consciously listen, and you're like listening to like super minute details on repeat over and over and over and over and over again. So it can be very daunting, and I get very like drained doing it, not in a bad way, but also in a bad way. Um, so I'm just like really pooped. And then tomorrow I've got another 4-hour session, which is great.
Whenever you get down, always remember you could have to write an essay on the War of 1812.
I'm not saying I'm down. I'm just saying I'm
It's a lot.
tired.
Yeah.
I'm really
Is it
pooped. I want to take a nap right now.
is it dark in the studio?
It depends on what studio you go into, and it can be dark and it can be light. Sometimes, a lot of times, like, artists will turn out the lights and like kind of make it dim for like mood lighting.
Hmm.
I personally am not a huge fan of doing that because I typically get really, really tired when the lights are like dimmed like that. And I'm like, I really, really want to close my eyes right now. And it's really hard to focus when I do that. So typically, I'm come to studio sessions with some sort of caffeinated beverage, and the lights are on the whole time for me. That's just typically where I lie in things. So the rooms that I was in, one of them was like a concrete room. It was like it's all like cold and like there's all like concrete walls. So I mean it was gray, but it was the lights were on. And then the mixing room I was in, it was very bright.
Oh, really? I always
Mm.
picture music studios to be dark. I don't
Well,
know why.
the studio that I was in was dark just because it's, like I was saying, concrete walls, and so it's kind of like a basement cellar vibe.
Hmm.
Um, and then the mixing studio I was in is actually a DJ suite, so there was like a whole bunch of DJ stuff, for any of the students who do DJing. But they just had like a really nice set of speakers, which is like why we were there. Is so we put our tracks into the big speakers and listen to them on like really good quality speakers so that we could like mix it properly, because we didn't need to record anything. We were just getting the volumes on the tracks.
They never have any windows on theirs because that would affect the sound, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the rooms, the doors are all like wooden doors, and then they have like really tiny windows like down the door, and
Oh, right.
that's the only window they have. But no, the whole room was the walls in the room that I specifically was in. They were white and blue, but there's like soundproof like all over the walls.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
It's so
And all
cool
the
what you're
rooms are
doing.
so cold. They're always so cold. I don't know why. Originally, I was like, well, maybe it's like for some instrument preservation or something, but it's definitely not that. I just think they just keep the rooms cold in general. I'm not really sure why.
I'm
Always
sure if
bring a
it's all
jacket to the
concrete,
recording studio.
it's hard to insulate concrete.
Well, in that studio, it makes sense, but what about the other studios that I've been in? Those aren't concrete.
Oh, sweetie.
It's so cold in school.
Oh.
Okay, in between my actual studio lecture that I was in and the mixing session that we had a 15-minute break, and I ran over to the store and I got a Coke for some caffeination and a strawberry Greek yogurt, and it was only 82 calories. And honestly, I have to say, I have never been more satisfied with a Greek yogurt. It was so good. It had real strawberries in it. I could see the little like seeds on them. But it was cool because it was like Greek yogurt, and then underneath was like this layer of like almost like jelly from the strawberries.
Oh, yeah, those are
It
good.
was so good, and it was like only 82 calories, and I was like, yeah, this is my new snack
How
everywhere.
much sugar's in that?
Honestly, I did not check.
Ah,
But I was just walking back through the city. It was very sunny today in Leeds. It was bright and sunny. Probably in like the 70s. I didn't check the weather, but it was about that temperature.
sure. Rub
Um,
it in.
and okay, we don't get a lot of days out here, so give me a break.
I know.
And I was just walking through the city, chomping on some Greek yogurt. It was very great. That was like a very peaceful moment today. So
Yeah. You need
gotta
to step
find them.
away from the stress sometimes and just
Yeah, and
take a break.
tomorrow I'm going to I'm going to be going to the Mac Labs for 4 hours to work on a piece that I need to compose for another class. And I'm going with my flatmate, and we just both set aside like 4 hours to sit and work on our projects. But afterwards, we're going out for a nice night out together because the city's finally open again. So pubs and
Yay.
stuff are open for outdoor seating. So to congratulate our 4 hours of hard work, we're going to go out and get a nice drink. So that'll be nice.
Nice. So if anybody follows you on YouTube, plan ahead, the reason you haven't been posting for the last few weeks is you've just been inundated. I mean, I know you've talked to me one-on-one about this. I am just slammed with projects right now.
Yeah, it really is crazy. The second semester here in this school is like every year. Like I was talking to one of the teachers about this, and they were like, every year, the first semester is always like really easy, and second term, it's just like a boatload of projects just get like thrown onto you. And so they were like, prepare because in second year and third year, it's going to be just as hard. Like, it's going to be just as intense. But the way they spread out tuition of all the second semester is actually kind of nice and accommodating for that because they know that all the students have these really big projects going on. And really, most of the students, I mean, maybe like a classical student would be like, preparing pieces to perform, but a lot of students have to, like, their projects involve some sort of recording. So a wide variety of the school is going into the recording studios, and production students are the only ones that are able to book studios themselves. So if like a student on the, I don't know, songwriting course wants to record a song in the studio, they have to recruit a production student to actually book the session and engineer it for them, because
Oh, nice.
production students are the only ones that are trained in that, like in running the desk and stuff. So they can only be the ones that book it out. But basically, they spread out 10 weeks worth of tuition in like smaller 2 and 3 blocks, like week blocks. And then in between, they'll give us like a week off, like a reading week, or then we had like a projects week and like a 2 week Easter break, and stuff like that, so that those weeks off, it's just studio bookings. And they're like, please don't go home during those weeks. It's a week of no classes, but you need to be in the studio. And they book up so fast. My group, we were waiting to book a studio, and it was just like they were all blue and suddenly they were all red, full of like bookings. It was, they get booked up so fast because everybody just needs to go in there and get stuff recorded,
Mm.
which is crazy. But before we actually move on to the actual segment of what we're talking about, I did want to say to anybody following my YouTube channel, first of all, thanks. But
Tell a
second of
friend.
all, I have something very excited planned for my YouTube channel that I actually haven't even told you about. But it's a piece that I'm very, very excited with. I'm collaborating with a few people in the school with for a really, really cool piece.
Oh, that's
Um,
fun.
and I haven't worked out the details. We're trying to book into one of the concert halls to record it, and not just into a studio, and like record it in like a fancy hall. But we might not be able to, and we might keep it more of like an engineered studio session. We're not sure yet. We're still determining the details, but stay tuned for that because I'm actually very, very excited to put that together.
Yeah, I know you've got so much going on. And
Mm.
every time I talk to you, you're like, oh, I've got all this stuff. And you're constantly working on music, obviously, because that's what you're doing. But you're even
Mm-hmm.
like the text you sent me earlier today. I'm like, oh, I'm in the studio until 7:30 tonight. I'm like, oh my God, this kid.
Yeah, late
So
night.
it's great. It's great working a working musician. That's what you want to be.
Mm.
So since you've been so busy working, did you hear any of the details from Prince Philip's funeral that was over the weekend?
I did not. I know there was like a silent moment of silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny story. While that happened, I was actually in the recording studio recording music. So well, I
Uh-oh.
mean, like, I didn't even hear about it. Like, we didn't know about it. We were just like, our session was booked over the whole thing, and we were just recording vocals for the track that I was just mixing. So
Was
I was in the studio when that happened.
was that okay? Did anybody complain? No.
I don't think so. I mean, I didn't even know it had happened until the session was over, and then I went on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It,
if it was really a big deal, they would have came and stopped us. I honestly, I just didn't know,
yeah.
and
It was a
nobody else in
beautiful
my session
funeral.
did either.
Nobody did. Yeah. I was wondering if it was, just London that was paying that much attention. I know it was broadcast everywhere and I saw it on the plane. I remember thinking when I was boarding the plane, oh, I'm going to miss the funeral because I would like to watch that kind of thing. But I was excited. I sat down and there it was on my little monitor and I got to see the whole thing. I got very weepy because I cry at everything, even funerals for people I don't know. But it was beautiful. And it was at St. George's Chapel, Windsor. And, Dad and I have been there and it's just so, it's a beautiful place. And it was just such a touching moment.
Mm.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Not a perfect man. None of us are perfect.
I
But very sad that he's gone.
I go to St. George's. My church up in Leeds is called St. George's.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
yeah.
There it is. Were you going to say something?
Continuing. No, I said
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were going to say something. Okay. So let's get into our things. Would you like to talk about the fears first?
I don't have a preference on what we talk about
I
first.
thought about this. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. We were talking, and I mentioned something about you being up high, and I said you've got a fear of heights and blah blah blah. And you kind of interjected and said, "I used to. I'm not so afraid." And I was going through some pictures. I was trying to find some pictures of you and I because we're putting together our website that's coming up. And I was digging through some pictures, and I had come across a picture of you in the Shard.
I hate that photo so much.
I know it's just on my thing, anyways. And you were just kind of all. You were
Actually,
very
if you want to
small.
know the real story behind that photo, is I was posing because I wanted to look cool and angsty, which even makes it more cringy because I clearly don't. I am wearing like, I don't know, blue jeans and like a tank top. Like it's not like I'm in some like aesthetic outfit. I literally look like a freaking middle schooler in a beanie, and I'm like it's just I hate that photo so much. If there's one photo I could choose to burn to forever, well, I don't know if it'd be that one. Maybe some other ones rank higher than that, but still. It's pretty high on the list.
I guess I should take it off the website then, huh?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I didn't put it on there. But I was thinking of the Shard. And by the way, kind of dialing back to, we talked last week about places you should go when you get to England. The Shard is a really cool place. It's huge, but we were up there, and you said middle school. So how old were you about then? 12?
I would have been
Something like
like 14.
14, yeah. So you were very young, and you were just like looking down. I don't want to do this because it's so high. But now, would that bother you to go up that high?
That high up? Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Um, I I would be uncomfortable. I wouldn't not do it. More often than not, like my thing with heights is like exposed heights. Like if I was standing on a
Yes.
bridge that high, or like some place where I could like actually feel the breeze and
Mhm.
like look down. Like if I was like on a giant tightrope that high in the air, I would be peeing my pants. As I think, I actually think a large population of people would be that scared, and they just
Mhm.
like don't say they would be, um, because that building is high.
It is high, and you've been on the top of the Eiffel Tower, and that's exposed. What do you think about that?
I don't remember the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, really? You
No.
weren't that young, were you?
Um,
I don't remember how old you were then.
I think
Anyways.
like I was more. It's not even necessarily just exposed heights. It's like the exposed looking down is
Mhm.
really the problem. Like I was saying, like if I was like on a tightrope or something like that, where it's just like it's not the fear of heights itself, it's the fear of falling.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
that's more what it is. I get an
Definitely.
actual pain in my feet that I learned is not normal, that most people don't have. But when I look down from a height that high, or even other way around, if I'm on the ground and I look up at something very high that I like could go up to, like a high rock wall or something,
Uh,
like my feet, they sting really, really badly.
really?
That's why I
What's
was
that all
saying like
about?
that's why I was saying I have a theory that I died in a past life from falling off of something high, and I landed on my feet, and now like when I look at something really, really high, I feel that pain from like a previous life. I don't know if that's true, but if reincarnation exists, that's how I think I went out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But
Not cool that you died, but
well, yeah, yeah. No, but it's like cool, like the idea that like there's might be some connection there or something. I don't
Mhm.
really know. I don't stew on it too much, but I mean, it's something every time I'm somewhere high, I get like this weird. Have you ever like jumped off of something or another and like it's a little bit too high, but it's not high, like it's high enough for it to hurt, and you're like, I shouldn't have jumped from that high, but like nothing's broken or anything. You just get like that pain that goes up your legs.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like that, but I
Not
don't
like
do
me getting
anything.
out of the Pathfinder.
It's just like ha ha ha. It's just me looking down, and I just automatically get that pain up my legs. It's really painful. It's like,
And
I
you
don't want to
haven't
be
done
up this
anything.
high. No, I
You
just
haven't,
look down
and
and
you
I get
get
a
that
pain.
pain. Wow.
Yeah.
We
I
got to explore that.
it also happens when I look at photography photos from really high, like if a skyscraper photo, like of the ground from like a skyscraper when they're like at like really, really like GoPro kind of angles where it's like kind of fishbowl-y.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, instant pain. Or like, have you seen those like rock climbing documentaries where it's like a rock climber and then it like does like a drone shot of them like climbing up this like really, really high rock or
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Makes me sick to my stomach.
Instant pain in my feet.
Wow, Ems, what's going on?
I've told you this like 7 times.
I know,
It's
but
been all my
I
life.
just, I guess I forgot, but that's pretty crazy that it happens that much.
Yeah. That's why I was like always like, no, I don't like heights, but I really enjoy the thrill of roller coasters. I think part of that is that I'm secured.
Yeah.
So
I always feel like I'm going to fly off a roller coaster. This little
no,
body just.
you just don't do them.
I'm not, I'll do a roller coaster. It's not my first choice. I'll do it if I'm with a group of people and they all do it. I don't want to be the one person going, I want to do it. So, so I'll go along, but I will definitely not be the one to go, hey guys, let's go on that ride. No.
No,
I not at all.
Used to be the former, like what you were saying, and now I'm definitely the latter. Like to the point where like the last time I went to Disney World was when I discovered I liked roller coasters because the first one was
yes,
Tower of Doom. No, first one was Space Mountain, and I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea, guys. Maybe we should do the teacups instead.
The teacups.
Sure enough, I got on that roller coaster. Very scary. Well, that roller coaster I don't like because it's all black.
Space Mountain.
You're just being whipped around. Like at that point, if you can't see anything, there's not really as there's like the appeal isn't as much. Like I want to watch myself like fly around or something like that. Like it's just like a whole like it's part of like the problem with like a dark roller coaster is I can't see where I'm going, so my ears, like the balance in my ears can't adjust to it. It's like the same feeling of like being motion sick in a car when you're like reading a book and then you're like off balance and you like I need to look out the window because I feel sick. It's like the same thing. So it's like I want to see what's going on so I feel a little more balanced.
Yeah.
But by the end of that day, we were going on the Elvis's roller coaster that had like 2 loops in it, and we did Tower of Doom, and both of those I was in the front seat for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to doing Disney World. I keep pushing Dad for that. I'm like, we need to take a weekend and just go out to Orlando and
I don't think Dad would get much out of that though.
He's saying not, but I really dig it. I think that'd be really, really fun. I enjoy Disney World and Disneyland and things like that. I'm not a huge Disney freak, but it's fun. My big fear, if I can say this, as you know, I'm afraid of dying. Huh? Spiders? Oh yeah. Don't like spiders, but I have to tell you, now that I have planted myself in the land of Aragog, the little spiders don't bother me nearly as much as they used to. Like I can handle a quarter-sized beast. I can handle
a quarter-sized beast.
I can take him. It's just that the ones that we've been seeing out there are more like a silver dollar size. They're really big.
Nasty.
They're really big. Yeah.
That's a pro about Colorado.
I know. Very few spiders here. The biggest fear I think I have, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, is I'm afraid of dying on my birthday.
Oh yeah, I literally was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about like how like you were afraid of that, and I was like, that was where the thought ended.
I have birthdays now, and I kind of want to just ignore them because I'm just afraid that I'm going to die on my birthday. And the OCD part of me sort of really likes
I kind of like it.
I know, it's kind of like, okay, she was exactly 52 when she died. Whatever. Huh?
Yeah, that's exactly why I like it.
Just exactly.
Clean slate.
It is a clean slate, but I'm just afraid of it for some reason. And every time I have a birthday, I kind of hold my breath. And when I get out to like the 11 p.m. hour, I think, okay, I'm going to make it through this one. It's just it seems like it gets worse every year. The older I get, the more like I don't like this day, and I'm very afraid that I'm going to die.
Not to be morbid, but statistically speaking, every year it gets a higher likelihood of that happening. I mean, we are all inevitably approaching death 5 minutes ago, I was farther away from death than I am now. I'm closer to dying now than I am 2 years ago. So theoretically speaking, statistically speaking, the chances of that happening occur like get higher like every year, but also the likelihood of that happening overall in general is very unlikely.
I know. There's 364 other days I can die.
Yeah.
I don't
And
seem to
many
be,
other years.
I'm not really afraid of dying at all. I figure that's
Mm.
coming. And, you know, we all had COVID and like there's all this stuff going around. Like, yeah, it's going to happen. I travel a lot. I fly in a lot of planes.
Mm.
Who knows what can happen?
Do you ever have like those existential like thoughts? Like that's one that I've definitely had that I just said. Like those like existential thoughts when it's like, well, if you actually think about it, technically we're all just inevitably approaching death and stuff like that. I have those thoughts all the time.
I
For
guess I
one,
do. You know, I had a lot going on in my life lately, so I just feel like, yeah, just get ready for it, man. It's coming.
the one that I always think about, this is an existential like crisis question that keeps me up all the time at night. I don't know why, this is just like one that always resurfaces in my head, but when you hit like every year you pass the anniversary of your death without knowing it.
That is interesting. Yes.
And you just go about your everyday life. And not only that, but like what if you hit your 10-year mark? Like 10 years before you die. You don't know that's your final 10 years. Like
I actually think of, go ahead.
people that like, this is going to be like a really morbid thought, but people that die really young, they could hit their 10-year mark at like 13
Yeah.
and not know it.
I have been thinking of, you know, my parents have both passed away, and I often think about that. You know, my father was 90, so he had some good innings. My mom died relatively young. She was just over 70. And that's, you know, not terribly far from where I am. I'm not 70, I'm not 60, but I think, wow, you know, I could really be in the waning years here. And now that we've moved to Florida, there are plenty of young people there, but there's an awful lot of older people. And I'm walking around stores all the time. I was walking out of Home Goods the other day, and I saw a bunch of people in the parking lot. You know, they're walking very slow, pushing the cart and kind of leaning on the cart kind of thing. And I thought, I wonder how long those people will be here. And it's just, you know, I remember my mom when she was, actually now, you know, because I know how old she was when she passed, you know, a few years prior to that, she was like that. And I think, oh, God, these people only going to be here another year or so. Who
Yeah. Or
knows?
even like, I I've only thought about this like
What
existential
a morbid
crisis thought a
conversation.
couple times. No, actually, well, I like horror, so I'm actually quite enjoying this conversation. I'm intrigued. My interest has peaked, and I am involved in this conversation, even though it is almost 11 p.m. where I am right now. Um, no, I think about like one time one of my friends said this because I was mentioning, you know, like my morbid thought that keeps me awake at night was, you know, we pass the anniversary of our death every year without knowing it. And my friend goes, really, the thought that I have like that keeps me up at night, that's like kind of like the death existential question, is she's like, I don't know how many people I just pass like every day and it could be their last day alive. Like what if I just like saw somebody like, you know, or whatever, and then they went and died somewhere. And she was like, how many people did I see on their last day alive?
That's a really morbid thought.
Oh, well, people just have thoughts like that. I mean, if you just like say you've never had an existential thought before,
Yeah.
you're lying.
I
Unless
know.
you're
It's
four.
true. It's
I
true.
mean,
No,
I've
I
had
mean,
thoughts like that when I was like 8. I was like, I remember when I was 8, I thought that I did the math and calculated that I was going to graduate in 2020. And I was like, that's so far away. And I remember I had a breakdown when I was like 8 because I was like, that's so much more school.
oh, so much more math.
I was like, I still have to go through middle school and high school. What is that?
Oh,
Which is crazy because it's 2021 now. So that's weird. That's
I know.
whack.
And it gets faster. It gets faster and faster and
Do you know
faster.
why it gets faster?
Because it's the fraction of your, it's the proportion of your life that you're going through. I don't know
Yeah,
how to say
yeah.
that, but it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel, I don't know. As long as I'm not dying on my birthday, I'm good. Those are
Yeah.
probably my two biggest fears: is spiders and the dying. Other than that, I really don't. I was thinking about this when I was going to ask you that, and I thought, you know, I really don't have too many irrational fears. If people go, just calm down, it's fine. I don't have a fear of flying. I used to as a
I
kid. When the plane took off, I'd be like, oh, and every little bump that we go over. I've had some really turbulent flights in the past. And I remember flying way, 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 way a long time ago. I was a teenager, and we were coming in during a thunderstorm, and there was lightning and thunder crashing. We could see the lightning right around all of the wings, and the plane was just dropping all over the place. And everybody on the flight was just deathly silent. We were all afraid we weren't going to make it on that one. That was kind of scary. But now I don't even have a fear of flying anymore. I'm quite happy to fly because I know I'm going somewhere really fun. Except
I
now because I came back to Colorado. But
I have I know for a fact I have a lot of irrational fears, but just like trying to like think about them and like conjure them up, I can't think of any, but I know they exist. I know I have irrational fears because there are sometimes where I don't talk about my fears just like openly on the blue, but like I'll be like with a friend and then I'll just mention that I'm afraid of something, and then like one of my friends will look up at me and be like, "That is so irrational." And they're like, "Why are you afraid of that?" And I'm like, "You know what? I don't know, because maybe I am. What's it to you?"
it's fine.
One that I always think of is this is not an irrational fear, but I am irrationally like uh, the level of fear that I have for it is irrational, like to an irrational point. Is I am so irrationally afraid of judgment that like I'm so afraid of being judged externally that like it just like it influences, honestly, I've gotten better at it, but like it influences like almost every single choice I make. Is like not even like in the aspect of like what's this person, it's like more like what's this person going to think of me in the aspects of how I act, as not like, oh, this person's going to think I'm a bad person or something. I'm more afraid of like someone being like, oh, she's dumb or something like that, than less like
Oh,
just like, oh, I think you're a bad person or whatever. um yeah, I just like I'm so irrationally afraid of judgment. That's like one of the reasons I consider myself not an open book, because I'm just like, I don't like that judgment, so I'm just like, yeah, let's just not talk about it. They can't judge me on
yeah.
something you don't know.
Do you know? I think I feel about the same way. I don't think anybody actually ever wants to feel stupid.
Oh, of course.
And we're all afraid of saying that one thing that is just like, oh, that's gonna stay with me forever. I remember I was teasing. I don't know if I was teasing or my sister and I were talking, and I was very, very young, and she was. I've mentioned this before. My sister is a genius. She's absolutely brilliant, and she was probably in fifth or sixth grade, and she was reading Karl Marx. And
Wow. That's
I,
hilarious.
yeah, and I didn't really know who he was, but I am very interested in old Hollywood, obviously from a lot of the biographies I've mentioned in the past. I love old Hollywood, and so I made a comment to her about which one of the Marx brothers was he, meaning it's a joke. I didn't know who he was. I knew he wasn't one, obviously one of the Marx brothers. But she has held that to my head like a little gun that Karl Marx, one of the Marx brothers.
Oh, uh-huh. I have one kind of like that, but I won't share it because, I don't obviously like it's something my friend said that was very silly. And I don't want to embarrass my friend publicly on a podcast. But
You're
I
going to
know that
tease
kind of
us and
spirit.
not tell us?
No, I can't. My friend said it, and if it was something I said, that'd be another story. But I don't
Yeah.
want to like. I'm sure they wouldn't like me saying that publicly on a podcast. Something they said, and then everyone being like, "Oh, so and so said that." Blah 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 blah.
Oh, right, right, right.
Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
want. But I've definitely had moments like that.
Where you say something, you're like, what? What's that? I
Yeah.
like to when that happens to me because we all say something we're like checked out while people are talking and you don't know what they're talking about, or that you completely honestly don't know. Like that girl on that podcast you were showing me who had no idea what gravity was or whatever.
Oh, when I showed you the Trisha Paytas thing
Oh
from
yeah,
Finding
that was very funny. Um, there we are plugging another podcast. Um,
Me.
what was I going to say on that? Oh, but if that happens to me, I will just laugh at it. I love to
I
laugh at funny things. And if I happen to be the one thing that everybody's laughing at, well, that's okay. I'll laugh at it too. And,
I
and
can't.
we'll all just, yeah, we'll have a good laugh, whatever.
I I'm like that with my close friends, where like if I say something dumb, I'm like, yeah, lol, that was dumb. But with general people, even like acquaintances that I'm friendly with, but like
Yeah.
I'm not close with them. I can't. I just like I value so much looking smart. Like that's
Oh yeah.
something that I hold so dearly to me that the idea of that, it horrifies me to the point where it's like I would rather not even make small talk because I don't want to make any contribution to a conversation that will make me look dumb. And I don't there's tons of things in pop culture that I don't keep up with because I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah,
I'd
sure.
much rather study Korean in my free time rather than paying attention to what so and so was wearing at blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
So I don't keep up with it. And then I don't want to make a contribution in a conversation that makes me sound dumb. So I'll just be like, yeah, I'd just rather not get involved. And thus it makes me sometimes appear like really standoffish or something. And I was telling this just to my flatmate the other day, is I think it kind of bit me in the butt multiple times. Like I was mentioning, there are a lot of times like I was talking about, because my flatmate does the exact opposite, and we were both just kind of like gawking at the fact that we were the two extremes, but we were talking about awkward silences and what you do to like fill the awkward silence if you really feel like you need to fill the awkward silence.
Oh,
And
I hate awkward silence.
she was saying that like she's like a kind of person who just like kind of wants everybody to get along, very big heart. So she said before like, oh, I'll do something that will kind of embarrass myself so that everybody will like kind of lighten the mood. And
Mhm.
I'm like, really? I do the exact opposite. Personally, I'm like, my brain goes, oh, well, me being who I am, my thought process, I value knowledge. I love it when people say fun stuff. Let's have like or smart things. Let's have an intellectual conversation. My brain is like, let's say something really, really smart so people think that I'm very smart, and then we can engage in a full, active, analytical conversation that would break the silence. That's where my mind goes. So then I'll
Mhm.
like pop out a fun fact or something, and then it never lands ever. I can't imagine one time in an awkward silence when then all of a sudden I burst out a random fun fact about volcanoes or something and people are like, "What?" Like
You,
that's the only option. So then instead it just kind of makes me look like a snooty know-it-all, and it always backfires on me. But honestly, that's where my mind goes. Is I'm like, to fill this silence, I should say something smart. And my friend's the exact opposite. And she goes, to fill this silence, I should do something stupid.
I'm with her. I'm absolutely with her. And it's funny, and we're dialed back to astrology on this. You're an Aquarius, and you
Mm,
know they're very cerebral, the air signs, and so that doesn't surprise me one iota that you value that and you would rather say something smart. I'm a Capricorn. I don't know, whatever, but I have a rising Aquarius, so a lot of people think that I'm real smart like that, and I'm really not. I mean, I know what I know. Everybody does. You have this little, this is my void of knowledge. This is all it is. And if you go to here, I don't know it. I only know what's in my little sphere.
right.
So I've heard people say that to me, that I'm very knowledgeable on things. I think
Lol.
no, no, not
I
at
always
all.
get like I get like a big serotonin boost when somebody comes to me after a conversation and is like, "Hey, could you tell me more information about blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, "I would be happy to. I would be elated to inform you more on this topic." Today, I got a text from one of my flatmates asking about a music theory question related to
Oh,
non-diatonic harmonies, and I was like, "Well, let me tell you." And so I texted this long-winded explanation all about non-diatonic harmonies, when they're best used, when you'd most likely find them in a song, and what they're like commonly used for and what they're not commonly used for, and some fun ways that you can integrate them into your normal songwriting practices.
of
And
course you
it
did.
was basically a book. I sent her a book in response. Like that it was lengthy. And then she came into the kitchen and I was like, "Hey, did my like thing respond?" And she's like, "Oh, I haven't read it yet." And I was like, "Ah!" It's like I just wanted to share my knowledge.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
um,
I'm
I
with
think
your
that's.
friend. A severe hatred of silence.
I
I don't like
honestly,
it. Mm-mm.
that's like the thing is like I am so like I don't like silence. Nobody likes awkward silence. Like nobody sits in an awkward silence and is like, yes, this is it.
No, but a
But
lot of people don't notice it.
a lot of times I don't mind awkward silence.
Yeah,
When and even when I feel awkward silence, most of the time I don't like care enough to do anything about it in an awkward silence. As in the aspect of the like what I was just saying, like I'm more afraid of saying something to try and break the silence that'll make me look dumb. So I'd rather just sit in silence than say something dumb. So I'll
Mm.
just be like, hey, we'll just be silent then. And then I have that thought for like a tenth of a second when I ultimately like make the decision to like be silent and keep the silence going. And then my mind is already off on something else and I'm not focused on the silence anymore. I got the conversation running in my head. And then I'll be like in a conversation and then somebody's like, hey, Joan, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, huh? Like if I'm already off on another train that's chugging.
You and I are very different in that way. I don't
I
mind
also
saying things that make me look not very smart. That doesn't bother me at all. Like, hey, I don't know. Teach me, whatever. Tell me about that whatever it is that you just talked about.
non-diatonic harmony.
Yeah, that. No, it's all good. It's funny. There was a post going around social media today that I thought was interesting, and I had a boatload. I had thousands of replies on it. And Linda Page actually chimed in. I thought, oh, Linda. It said, how would you add these two numbers and explain how you'd add them? So if you had to add, and I'm going to make up the numbers because I don't remember what they are, 29 and 47, how would you add that?
Typically, well, it depends. Well, not those two numbers specifically. Are you just like asking how I do that math problem?
How would you add those two numbers?
What were the numbers? 29 and 47. I'd do the
Sure.
9 and the 7 first, carry the 1, and then add the tens.
Yeah. I would go the other way. I'd add the tens and then look at the balance and then add the carryover to it.
Typically, that's like probably the smarter way to do it. It depends, though. The reason I said it depends is because if the ones are like a really easy sum, which most of the time they are, like 3 and 2 or something, where I know it's just like boom 5, then I'll add the tens first.
Yeah.
And
You know
then,
what?
so if it was like 32 plus 25, I'd be like, oh, well, that's 55.
Yeah.
Or 25, sorry, 38, 58. I can do math.
I thought it was interesting. You know what Linda said? She said she would round the 47 up to 50 and then add them and then subtract 3. I
Yeah,
thought, wow, you
I've
do
seen people
addition
do that.
and subtraction for that?
Like just round up. I've seen people do that where they round up to like the higher sum of the like numbers. Like if it was 49, you just round it up to 50 and then you know you have to add one or subtract 1 at the end. I've seen lots of people do that
Oh, really? I've
because
never heard of that.
I remember my math teacher at one point told me like if you get stuck, you could always just round up to the bigger number, find the difference, and then just take it away. And I was like, yeah, but that's more work. So
That's what I thought when I looked at it. I'm like, wow, you go all the way up there and then back again? No, that's
no,
interesting.
I'll add up typically.
You guys, we're way off topic, but that's okay. When you went through math in school, you guys did Common Core math, didn't you? That all those little like latticey things with charts and
I remember I
little
did lattice at one
boxes.
point, and I learned how to do lattice before I learned how to do like the I don't want to say the proper multiplication method, but like the more commonly universally used multiplication method, which is just like cross like multiplying down
Yeah.
in like a written equation. I learned how to do lattice first, and for like a year I was like, lattice is the only one for me, XOXO. But like, and so I only would do my math in lattice problems, and then I remember I learned like the common universal way to do multiplication, and I was like, why did you teach me lattice then? I was like, this is so dumb
Yeah.
in
I
comparison.
I was reading an article on it because it struck me when they were actually explaining it because I could never understand what you guys were learning. I thought, I don't know why you're doing it that way. It just seemed like a lot of work. But the practical methodology in your head about how to solve common things in life that you would cross with numbers, you've got a fence and you need to measure things and whatever. It was very applicable to that. So that made more sense. And suddenly I thought, okay, I get why they're taking you that long way around the building, but it just seemed very odd.
Right.
I don't know how we got that far off topic. Okay, any other fears you want to talk about?
Math.
I knew you were going to say
Mental math. Though recently I have had an urge to focus on math again because like I've said, we've been here for 9 episodes. We know that Joan loves learning new things and studying in her free time because I'm just a boatload of fun. Um, And recently I have just had this urge to look at math again and retry math because I feel like just with my brain and my analytical way of thinking that math should be right up my alley
Oh yeah.
in my
And with
way of
music?
thinking. Oh yeah, like it just totally makes sense that I would like math. I seem like a math kind of gal. And I honestly think the public school system ruined it for me in the aspect of like if I didn't get something as fast as everybody else, it was like all of a sudden it wasn't like, okay, wait, hang on, I'm kind of confused. It went from that to like all of a sudden I'm drowning in the deep end with no floaties. Like seriously, like Mate 8, something's wrong. Because like it's like you
Yeah.
miss something and you immediately move on to the next thing. And if you miss the beginning, it's not like, oh, I can kind of work around it and then like figure the answer out from another angle. It's like, no, if you don't understand, you're not building that bridge.
Yeah. And I remember you coming home with some math problems in your little lattice things or whatever it was and asking me to, could I help you? And I was like, yeah, I'm out. I don't know what you're doing over there. I can show you the way I'm doing it. And of course, you had no patience for that, which is fine. But yeah, it was like, okay, we're out.
I used to get so
Shut
frustrated
that
too
door.
because when I understood math, the times when I understood math and like there were I mean everybody has their strengths and weaknesses in any subject, but like logic. First of all, I love logic puzzles. Separate note, I literally sit and do logic puzzles in my free time. They are so much fun. But math logic and like geometry and that like spatial and like algebra that we did, I
Mhm.
was so I understood it really well
Yeah.
and I didn't need fractions to do it most of the time. Um so like when we did that stuff, I was so enthusiastic about math that like
Mhm.
I would like go like an above and beyond. I'd be doing all these math homework quizzes and I was like, yeah, woo, this is going well. And I would like help out my peers. We were getting really good scores on the tests and stuff. So like the times when I was really good at math, when I understood it, it was like my sponge mode was activated and I was like, let me absorb all this knowledge. And then times when I didn't get it, I literally was like, don't touch me with a 10-foot pole with that thing, or I will literally smack you with my $200 textbook.
Isn't
Like
she charming?
it felt like that. Yeah, lovely.
No.
But just the other day, I actually watched a video of a K-pop idol solving a math equation, and I have never. Oh my gosh, you know
What, laughed, cried?
that's the end.
What?
That's the end of the statement. That was the period. I have never. Period.
Is that kind of
I
like
was
I can't even? I
yeah.
don't know what to do with that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say like people give K-pop like a bad rap because a lot of people are like, oh, you just like it for like the hot guys. That's like very much like a common roast against people who like K-pop. um but I honestly like out of all the like idols and like K-pop idols that I've liked and like enjoyed, I have never been like so like in awe of one of them than when I watched one of them solve this exponential math equation in 2 seconds. I was like, oh my god.
That's why you want to do math.
No, that was after. It
Oh,
literally,
really?
I think it was like
It's a sign.
this is a whole separate tangent. Yeah. I think, like the conversation that like phones are listening to us when you like have a conversation with somebody about a product you want to buy and then you see an ad for it on your phone,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. I was actually telling my brother when we were in person that I was like thinking about wanting to do math again, and then that video was on my recommended and I was like, hmm.
You want to
Um
know something weird about that? And you said, oh, if you talk about it, then it shows up. The other day, I was scrolling through Instagram and you have also, and I saw a picture of somebody walking down the street, and it was more of a fashion kind of picture. I don't know what it was for, but they had a on bag, and I was looking at it, and I scrolled pretty quickly. I didn't stop, but I thought, yeah, I've never ever bought a Louis Vuitton bag, and I thought that to myself. And I've had 2 ads today for Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah. It's
I
weird though
thought
because
it.
it's literally you think it. You don't even
Yeah.
verbalize it and it's just like there.
I just want to say I've had my first COVID shot, so maybe it's what's happening. Just kidding.
Oh,
I'm
oh,
just
they're just
kidding.
injecting you with read your brain serum.
Yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
just kidding. Not a conspiracy theorist. Don't send hate mail.
Oh.
Okay, sorry. I know that's a can of worms. Any other fears before I move on to quirks? Because I got a lot of those.
No, let's move on.
Okay. So the other day I was walking in Florida, and the sprinklers were sprinkling away, as they do,
As they
because the
do.
sun is, as they do, in 80-degree sunny temperature, sprinklers going. And I walked through a puddle, and I when you walk through it, you leave little footprints. It's one of my things. I hate leaving water footprints after walking through a puddle. I hate it.
I actually love that. Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
But okay, but like mud footprints after you walk in a mud puddle is okay?
Mud doesn't bother me. Snow doesn't bother me. Water footprints, I don't know. And it's been this way. When I was in high school, it used to bug me all the time because I lived in Phoenix. And of course, there was, sprinklers all there as well. And I used to walk through puddles. And as soon as I would walk, I'd have to like dry off my feet because I didn't want to leave water footprints. I don't know.
Okay, so what if like you guys were like painting in a big room and you got paint on your shoes and you left paint footprints? What? That is quite bizarre.
No, we're on to weird quirks.
Yeah.
That's one of them. So I thought I want to talk to my little buttercup and see what her little quirks
so country
are.
there. My little buttercup.
My little buttercup.
Trying to think of them on the spot.
Okay, well, you think. Here's another one. I was shopping at Home Goods, as I do. I love Home Goods. Oh my God, I love that store so much. I'll go there and shop for things for the house I don't even need.
You
Love
interior designer, you.
I love it. Well, the thing with rummaging through stores like that, they just have sort of leftovers from other bigger department stores they don't sell. That's why they land there. So there's a lot of cool stuff, but there's never like two of the same things, or maybe there's just one or two. So the things that are on the shelves never quite line up as if you go to like Macy's or Dillard's, and how you have like all the goblets and everything. So it's all sort of messy before I get there.
You Monica Geller. You Monica Geller in public. You Monica Geller in Home Goods. They recognize you on the CCTV footage. They're like, here comes little Miss Monica. She walks in with her little purse, not even here to buy, and you just go up the shelves and just straighten it for them.
I do. I went through the art department. I was looking for some art because we don't have a lot of art in our condo yet. And I was looking through the art and I thought, I can't even. It's just so messy here.
You look like you're about to cry. Are you gonna cry? Please don't cry. There, don't be sad. I don't know what to do. You're laughing, right?
Starting to cry. That's so funny, your reaction. No, so I stopped and I tidied it all up and I made it all nice so I could look at it and actually start shopping. I can't start if it's a mess. It's just, I can't do it.
I hate to see my room right now.
I know. And so, oh God, I did get all weepy. So I shopped and there was nothing I wanted after all that effort. And then I went back there a couple of weeks later and I walked back through the place and I remember stopping at the aisle going, oh, look at this place. I left it so tidy.
I left it so tidy.
It was all messy again. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I do that. Even in proper department stores, I'll put things back. And yeah. It's a quirk. What else you got?
I don't think I can beat that. Let's just move on. I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm sure you have quirks.
I'm sure I do too. It's hard to think of them on the spot. One thing I always do, and I think this is just me not trusting people, less of a quirk, is I always just lock my door before I leave. And if I'm in my room, because my flat is more like an apartment where there's we all have our own individual rooms, and then we've got a corridor and then a common kitchen area. Mm-hmm. And if I'm in my room, my door is locked.
Oh yeah.
No matter what time of day it is. If I'm in the room, if I'm not in the room, it's locked. And none of my other flatmates do that. Some of them lock it at night.
Do you carry your key?
Yeah.
Into the kitchen?
No, no. If I
Oh,
like go into the kitchen to make a snack or something, I just go. But
oh, okay.
I mean like when I leave the flat, I lock my door. I'm the only one that does that because the front door to our flat locks. It auto locks. So like nobody can get in. It's like it's a push door, but there's like
Mm,
a lock to it. So like you just can't even open the door.
yeah.
So you have to have a key to get in. So it's very safe, but I mean, even when I just leave out of my flat, I always lock my solo bedroom door. I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want people going into my room. That's my personal space. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, nobody else in my flat does that. I'm the only one that locks my door when I leave.
So you could go and rummage through their rooms. Not that you would, but you could.
I wouldn't do that, but yes, theoretically, yeah, their doors are just unlocked.
Wow, that's kind of setting yourself up for. I mean, any one of you could take something from there, and I mean,
I know.
that's just not.
It's not that I don't trust my flatmates. I we all are very we have a good relationship with each other and I
Mhm,
would trust that they wouldn't do that. But also I think I'm just a private person
mhm,
and I just prefer privacy.
mhm.
And so just I mean my like I don't I even this is something that I was very much like this back home too, is if I'm in my bedroom, the door needs to be closed. I'm not doing anything weird. I'm not like it's just like I like to be in my room with the door closed.
You
And at
do.
night, I sleep with the closet doors closed too. I just like everything needs to be closed.
Is that because of the ghost?
No. I don't believe in ghosts, but I
Yeah.
like this my closet is behind me if you're watching on YouTube. This is my dresser. And sometimes our washer, we have a washer and dryer in one. And so because it's the same machine, sometimes it doesn't dry all the way and so the clothes come out like kind of damp and I have to hang them over my dresser doors to keep them dry. College student life.
That's good.
Um but I have to do it overnight and it's really really irksome because I can't close my closet doors at night
Mm.
because their clothes are drying and it makes me so mad. I just want to close my closet doors.
Yeah, I need to have the door closed when I sleep. It doesn't have to be
I
shut like latched or anything, but
Oh no,
certainly.
I'm shut locked.
Oh, really? Like
Mm.
nobody's getting in.
Well, I mean back home it was just shut
Yeah.
because when I was a teenager living at home, my alarm clock is also on this call. So you had to be able to get in my room and wake me up.
Oh, my alarm put me.
Yeah, yeah, you were my alarm clock when I lived back at
Yeah.
home. But now obviously I'm an adult and I have to wake up by myself. So I keep my alarm clock on my phone.
Have
But
you gotten better about getting up?
oh yeah, much better.
Yeah.
I'm way better at that. I got it was weird. It was like the second I left home, I became good at waking up to my alarm. I think it was because I was overly paranoid about it because I was like, I don't have mom to save my hide anymore. If I'm
Mhm.
late, it's on me. Like, well, I
Yeah.
mean, it was always on me. But like, if I don't wake up to my alarm clock, I'm not gonna have somebody knocking at my door saying you have a class starting.
Yeah. I
Um,
was really bad about waking up when I was out on my own, and I had a job. When I first started working, I worked a couple of graveyard shifts at a hospital and a couple of swing shifts, which was great. Um, but I had to go into work at 11 o'clock at night and work until 7 in the morning for the graveyard shift. And I would often doze off like at 6 o'clock at night and want to sleep till about 9 or 10 and wake up and go into work. And yeah, that alarm just would not wake me.
uh,
It would ring and ring and ring and ring. I just, no, I could not wake up. So
I'm
you
pretty
come by it honestly.
yeah, I'm actually like pretty okay at that now. And so now I think I started locking my door because I think part of it was like a fear of I'm not really being alone, but being alone by myself as an adult in like a foreign country for the first time living alone.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was like, you know, I'm by myself. This is kind of scary. So I locked the door as like a sense of security. And now I just always lock the door.
Has the UK gotten to feel more like home now that you've been there so long? When'd you
Yeah,
get there, in
I was
August?
thinking, I was talking about this with my brother when I went down to London to see him over Easter holidays. But we were talking about um like actually liking the physical areas of where you live. We were just like talking about because like I was talking about like I don't really know at the current moment as a first year where I'm going to be after college and where that you know that might be I might stay in Leeds, I might go down to London, I might go back to America, who knows like what opportunities are going to rise, we're not sure. just don't really know yet. And we were talking, and he was asking, like, actually, like, in a perfect world, when, whatever, assuming wherever you could live, you could get a job that you were satisfied with, where would you pick? And I was like, honestly, unless it's like somewhere I absolutely despise, the location doesn't really matter to me. I'm not I don't I prefer city to like suburbs, but suburbs on it's not a deal breaker to me. And that's like kind of like how I feel. So like that's to answer your question, like I don't really know if yeah, this kind of feels like home. It doesn't feel like home at the same time, but like I don't really care. That
Yeah.
sounds weird. But like if if my college was in a different place, like in a different city, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. You're really low
Because
maintenance like that, which is
yeah,
great.
I'm not here in this city because the city is attractive to me. I mean, it's fine. I like the city. I enjoy living where I live, but I'm here for the college
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day,
If you
as
could
long as it's not a sketchy neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got great neighborhoods from what I've seen. If you could pick London or Leeds, would you pick Leeds?
I'd have to think about it because there's pros and cons. Ultimately, I'd like to say London because I think there's more music opportunities there. But also, being an introvert as I am, London has 8 million people living there. That is, oh,
It's a lot.
there's so many people there. Sometimes Leeds feels like really, really packed, and Leeds has about the same population as my hometown did.
That's a strange deal.
Like right around the same human population. And then London is like on X Games mode.
Yeah, yeah, big city. When you came back to the Springs over Christmas, did this feel like, oh, I'm back home? Or did it feel like you were just sort of visiting and Leeds was really home?
It didn't feel either way. It felt nice because I saw my best friend again. Because my best friend was back as
I
well
thought you were
from
going to say because you saw your family again, but okay.
I also saw my pooch, and my family.
Oh, rude.
um, which was nice. But I mean, I I don't I don't know if I think of any material place, like a physical
Mm-mm.
place on this earth, as home. I'll
Yeah.
call my house like that I live at home, or I'll call the flat home, or I'll be like, yeah, let's go back to the flat or something.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I have like a like, oh, this feels like home. Maybe I'm just a robot. I don't really care, honestly. I'm like, if as long as where I am is suiting the needs for my task at hand and where I'm living at the present moment, then I'm satisfied. And it's
Yeah.
like a good area. I'm assuming that all the places I'll be living is, a nice upkept area, hopefully.
Yeah, well, that's up to you
Yeah, yeah,
deciding on
yeah.
how far you want to drive or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
commute. I think you've always been pretty low maintenance, which is delightful. I mean, whether
Thank
it's your
you.
clothes or, food or, I mean, whatever,
Me with
even
my
a
porridge.
car. Yeah, porridge, exactly. I mean, very low maintenance, which is wonderful. So, I'd like you for your homework, my dear, to think of other quirks because you didn't really chime in on this.
One that I do have. It's not really. It's not really a quirk either. It's just more like a weird thing. I mean, is that a quirk? Is when music is playing in the background, it cannot be on in the background. If it's on, it needs to be on or off. I can't have it lightly on in the background, like very quietly. I can't handle that because it's just loud. If it's just loud enough for me to hear it,
Mhm.
then it's just distracting. But if it's on all the way, then I'm like, okay, yeah, I can work while I'm, bopping to some tunes. Or I just want dead silence. And so I feel like I struggle because I'll be able to dimly hear like my flatmate playing guitar. And it's nice, but it's just at that like level that I
Mhm.
can't stand. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
there's just like a little bit of guitar coming through and I'm like, I can't handle this. It needs to be completely off in here. And so I put in my headphones and I like noise cancel everything because it's like just this little tiny bit of like sensory overload for me. So I mean, that's
Mesophonia.
no, I mean if that's like it's weird. Yeah, I care more about that than I do about like sirens and like people chewing. It's
People
just like
chewing.
the tiny sounds that just like bleed over. It's like it's it's just loud enough to be distracting, and that's what makes me hate it. I think it's because when I was in school, I was such a big bookworm that I got used to people talking in the background while I read. And so it was like kind of like this disassociation between myself and like the loudness of the world while I read or listen to music or whatever. And so when something is at like a normal volume, if a song's like turned up to like a normal like jamming out to music volume, I can shut it out and be like, yeah, and then do my work. But if it's like just quiet enough, then it's like a little nagging thing in the background that's like, hey, hey, this is on. This is
Yeah.
on. And I'm like, turn it off.
Yeah.
Can't stand it.
It's funny. The more you talked about what you were talking about, the more I got it. At first, I thought, really? I don't know why that would bother you. And I thought, oh, no, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Troublesome. All right, let's go into languages here. What'd you do with your Korean? You said you were studying Korean quite a bit.
Oh my, no, actually the opposite. I have been so busy that I almost have not studied at all
Oh,
because I've just been so busy. I've been so busy, and then when I'm not busy, I'm so pooped that all I can like manage to do is flop on my bed. Like
yeah.
honestly. And then I, kick myself because I'm like, I could have spent my free time doing something productive, like learning a language or something. And I'm just like, it's like this never ending cycle of being too busy, then not resting, and then like kicking myself for not resting, but resting. Yeah, but I, before this call, did some Korean studying, and I was focusing on irregular conjugations, which is fun. I also
For
learned,
you.
I also learned, I found a new verb list of like some other verbs that I didn't know. Cause like, I feel like in any language, you get like this basic list of like probably like 200 verbs that like you use very commonly, like eat, to sleep, to speak, to like, I don't know, go shopping. There's like a like 200 probably set verbs that like you use very commonly in everyday life. And then like after that, it can get kind of hard to learn verbs because then you only use them when they're like situational. Like how many times am I going to say to stir fry unless I'm making a stir fry? You know, like you want to stir fry that or something, but I wouldn't just like sit down and be like, I wonder how to say to stir fry in Korean or whatever, which by the way, it's pokta. Anyways. Yeah. Now you know. But I found this a new verb list with common verbs, but they were verbs that I hadn't heard yet. So they were common enough to be like, yeah, colloquially used, but I most of them I didn't know, which was good. So I've been running through that, and that had about 70 or 80 of them on there. So I've been running through that on Quizlet, which is like very nice. And something really cool about them is there's I forget what they're called in English, but man, this is gonna make me sound so dumb because I can't remember it. This is the whole dumb, not wanting to sound dumb thing. There's a whole bunch of verbs in English, and then when you add a certain type of English word that I can't remember the name of, like a certain grammar word, it changes the meaning of the verb. So you can break something or you can break up. And see how those two verbs are very different, but all you did is you added the word up. Because to break up is to end a relationship, but just to break could be like a bowl. Or to look at something versus to look down. Those are very different verbs, kind of thing. Anyways, my point was in Korean, there's any of those can be very, you learn all those verbs. There's a ton that I just learned that involve going and coming. So like to go out versus to come out, the difference being when you say go, you're referring to somebody else moving away from you to go out, as in I'm staying, you're going, versus come out implies I'm already out, please come join me, kind of thing. And it's the exact same thing in Korean. In both times you say out and you just change the verb to come or go, which is like, it's very same, or to come down, to go down, or kind of things like that. Like it's the same phrasing in Korean. And then I thought I'd teach you a fun word. This is my favorite word in Korean. We've finally gotten here. I've definitely already told you this word, not on the podcast. I'm wondering if you might recognize it and be able to tell everybody what it means if I just tell you what it means. It's not whiting. I said I haven't taught it on the podcast.
I know.
But har su 있어요? You can do it.
Yes.
Ready for the word?
I am.
우유.
Oh, milk.
Yeah!
I
Uyu
did
means
remember.
milk. It's my favorite word in Korean, obviously, and they even have a milk song.
Oh, do sing
우유,
it.
좋아 우유, 좋아 우유, 주세요, 다 주세요, 우유, 좋아 우유. Yeah, that's the song. You can
Is that
listen
like a
to it.
commercial?
It's like a children's song,
Oh,
like a kid's song. It's very cute. There's a rap in it, by the way. If you want to hear some kids spitting some verses about some milk,
go
the
ahead.
Uyu song is where you go. Oh, I don't know it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that's my update on the Korean language. How about
Well,
you?
that's quite a lot because you said you didn't do anything. And I personally did nothing on Russian. I learned do svidanya, which means goodbye.
What is it?
Do svidanya. Um,
Do
but I,
svidanya?
do svidanya, yeah. But
Do svidanya.
do svidanya, darling. No, I literally have not done a thing this
Did you
week. I'd love to
know?
come up with an excuse as to why. Oh, I was busy flying to Colorado, but yeah, no, I just didn't get to it.
Did you know there's two ways to say goodbye in Korean?
Okay.
And it depends on whether the person you're saying it to is going or staying.
Oh, whether they're the one staying and you're the one leaving?
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
if I'm leaving but you're staying, I would say 안녕히 계세요. But if you're the one going and I'm the one staying, then I would say 안녕히 가세요. And the only difference is word for word translating. While it means goodbye, what you're literally saying is either go in peace or stay in peace. So that's what you're saying. So you can't say stay in peace to somebody who's leaving. Yeah, it'd just be weird. Um, it just
That's
doesn't fit.
cool.
But yeah, that's what you're saying. And then if you're both leaving, you can say go in peace.
It
So
sounds like a church thing.
yeah, kaseo sounds is like a little more safer to use. But I mean, if you like went into an audition or something like where there's like a whole bunch of people that are just staying and you're quickly popping your head and then leaving and then you go in peace, like it just kind of sounds weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting. Did you get to church this week? I
I
know you
did.
said you were so busy. I didn't know if you'd get there.
I did. I got there and everything went okay. And then I came home and I taught a theory lesson like immediately after I came in, dropped my stuff, set up my theory lesson, Zoom linked, and bam, into theory.
Nice. Busy,
But
busy.
it
We've
went
been
well.
back to that church that Dad said he didn't really like, and it was great. It was better. The first time we went was that Easter service, and it's always when you go to an Easter or Christian or Christmas service or something, it's always a little skewed from what's normal. But we went back to their quote normal service, and it was fantastic. It was really, really good. I left motivated, and I really like the speaker, and yeah, I think that's going to be where we'll settle. It's
Oh,
very
good.
nice.
The
Yeah.
last church service I went to, the singer, I mean, I've heard him before, because they switch out, so it's not always the same band playing. Sometimes they have female singers, sometimes they have male singers, and there's this one singer who was doing it last week when I went this last week, and he was just singing this one song, and it was, I don't know what it was, because I I haven't gone frequently enough to know all the songs yet. Um, but the way, like the timbre of his voice on that song and the mix with his guitar, like how they were just blended together, it was just so insatiably like euphoric. It just
Yeah.
like I just felt like this resonation in like my chest, and like I got chills like all the way down my arms, and I was just like, that timbre in his
Oh,
voice is just like so fantastic. And I was like, this is great. And now that lockdowns have lifted, well, obviously, like right now, lockdowns, yeah. So the way that church in person has been looking is you have to book ahead, and then you go, and depending on if you're a single household, you can sit with the people that like are in your household. But if you came like by yourself, all the seats are 6 feet apart, so you're like in different pews from everybody else or whatever. And then at the end, they like gesture you out. They in like order so that you're like socially distancing on the way out. But now that lockdowns have lifted, outdoor gatherings of 6 people are permitted. So after the service, like all the teens stayed outside and just like talked for like half an hour after the service, and it was like really cool because I have joined the youth group, like not the like the student group for the college students. That's like the age of the people. The college community at that church is so outstandingly good. It's so
beautiful.
good. And
Lovely. I
um,
love it.
I I got to meet some of the college students in person because I joined when everything was on Zoom.
Mm,
So I've only seen them on Zoom, and obviously one of them is like my friend who I constantly go all the time with church, and he was the one that like brought me there, so like I already knew him, and I was there with him at church. So I mean, I knew him, but I'd seen all these people on Zoom, and I'd never seen them in person, and it was very cool, and it was like a weird feeling to like meet somebody in person. I also just like that whole thing with me not liking silences, and I'd rather just be quiet than say something dumb. I haven't spoken to many of them because I've just been on Zoom, and so I haven't been very conversational with all of them. So
yeah.
like there was like this little fear of like I'm not 100% sure if they recognize me or not.
Hmm. Did they?
But well, we were all in like one big group. And I'm assuming my accent stood out. Which, by the way, I met one of my professors for the first time. That was one of my Zoom professors.
Mhm.
For the first time, I've only had him on Zoom, and I met him in person for the first time. He was returning equipment to like the equipment checkout while I was getting it with my. We were getting the key to the mixing room in my group, and he just said hi to all of us, and we were like hello, and he asked what we were doing there, and I said we're going to the mixing studio, and then he goes, "Oh, it's Joan," and I and I was like he called me out, and I was like, "Hello, that's me," and he was like, "Your accent like is what like gave you away," and I was like, "Oh right,
Oh,
stick out like a neon sign in England."
yeah.
But it was a very
That's
very kind greeting. I was a little
nice.
flustered. Because
Nice.
like we were all just like standing there because it was like our professor that we like met in real life, and we were like, yeah, hi, it's like nice to like see you in person and not on a tiny screen on our computer. It feels weird to like meet you in person. He was like, what are you all doing here? And then he was like, oh, it's Joan. I was like, oh.
That's nice. I was talking to Miss Jill this week. We went out and worked out together, and afterwards, she was saying essentially like what you're saying. She's so used to doing the Zoom stuff, and now things are opening in the springs, and she's oh, I've got to meet people now. We're actually talking about going to have lunch together, and it's
Mm,
like we're only seen from here up, and I have to put on
yeah.
shoes to go meet a person. So it's
Mm,
a whole new thing. In Colorado or Florida, everything's wide open, and our church is you can just
right.
go and sit next to people and they don't have any masks on or anything. Just
Mm.
kind of nice. Just to feel normal. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting infected there. I don't know. I've had my shot. Who knows? Okay. Have I done enough that we can wrap into your rapid fire questions?
Oh, right. Yes. Rapid fire
Oh, yes.
questions.
Rapid fire questions.
Please explain again for our listeners what this is in case you missed episode 8, but if you missed episode 8, you should go back and listen to it.
Is that where we did this? These are just
I think
rapid fire
so.
questions. They're not necessarily would you rather kind of questions. So they're not always this or that. They're just a bunch of questions just to help the listeners get to know you a little bit more. And I don't know, sometimes for me to get to know you a little bit more, you may have never expressed any of these to me and I don't know the answers to them. Some of them I think I know, but like I'm
Okay.
not going to ask you who's your favorite Beatle.
Was that the question?
No, but who is
Oh,
your
well,
favorite?
the answer is Ringo Starr.
Ringo
Richard
Starr.
Starkey.
Yeah, Richard Starkey. Okay, I have 12 questions. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, what's the last thing you ate?
Bread with strawberry jam.
Oh, nice. What is your spirit animal?
Oh, this is a hard question. I think a lion.
A lion. Okay, what's the last thing you bought?
Oh, I bought a bear enamel pin for one of my pen pals.
Oh, that's sweet. What is your favorite candle scent?
Currently, it is this Yankee Candle soft blanket.
Oh, nice.
I just literally stand here and sniff this all the time. I haven't even, this wick has never been lit. I just smell it. I just
Yeah.
inhale it.
If you became a buff, what subject would it be in? Apparently, music theory, from what you earlier just told.
Excuse me, I already am a buff, so I get to pick a new buff subject. Um, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. A buff
Rapid
on
fire,
anything.
girl. Rapid fire.
Probably a language or physics. I don't know why I said physics, but that was just the first thing that came to my head. So
Physics?
I've never taken a physics class ever, and it's always bothered me. It's always bothered me that I never took a physics class like ever in school.
I okay. That kind of took me. Okay,
I
what's
know.
your
I said
happy?
it. It just
Go
came to
ahead.
just came to my head.
It's all good. What's your happy place?
I don't have one.
I'm miserable all the time. No, seriously, where do you go that makes you happy?
I seriously don't have one. I like I was saying, I don't find material joy in any location. So
Oh, wow. Okay, what job would you be terrible at?
apparently finding happy places.
That's not a job.
Okay. I would be really bad at sales.
Oh, yeah, that sales is tough. Scooby Doo or Marmaduke?
Scooby Doo. Is that even a question? Who says Marmaduke to that?
Window or aisle seat?
Window.
Roller coasters or haunted houses?
Ooh, haunted houses.
Los Angeles or New York?
Los Angeles.
Really? And worst subject in school?
Actually,
Quick.
I kind of liked all the subjects. Probably science.
Of course you did, because you're an Aquarius. I thought you were going to say math to
I
that.
was gonna say math.
Yeah.
Math is probably if you ask like subject that make you break down the most, it was definitely math.
Somebody,
And
go ahead.
math and science probably are like tied for like worst subjects. I think out of all just general interest I had in subjects, my interest rate was lowest for science.
Really? I thought you really liked science and you were pretty good at it.
I I was really good at science, but I always ended up taking all the biology classes. And when it came to like species biology, I was not interested in that. But when it was
Mm.
like cell replication and like DNA transcription and translation, I ate that up.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
All good.
this is really interesting. But then it was like, let's look at species evolution, and I was like, snore. I don't care about natural selection.
So if somebody ever asked you if you read a book that made you cry, it would be trigonometry.
No, actually, trigonometry, one of my favorite sections of math. I
Yeah.
loved trigonometry. Like big heart, big ooh heart from Joan. Me and Joan X trigonometry. Like I loved it. Um a book that ever made you cry. Definitely a math textbook of some sort.
Math textbook for that. All righty, that's all I got.
Those were all.
I
Those are fun.
I am done. I didn't
Are
look
you
at our
gonna
timer. I don't know how long we've taken this week.
yeah, this episode's pretty long, pretty
Is it?
lengthy. Yeah, I think we're close to like an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
I think so, but I could be wrong.
Just enjoy talking to you so
Yeah, I
much.
know. We
And
just have good conversations.
I know. And maybe we should edit these down. I don't know from the listeners if these are too long. Feel free to tell us. We'll have a website up very soon and you'll be able to comment on it, which is great.
By the time this episode airs, it actually should already be up because we
It
record these in advance. So
That's a
hopefully
good
by this
point.
time we have the episodes up.
Yes, it's girlsacrossthepond.com. I got that domain. Very excited. The website is really cool. It's got some of our episodes on there. We've got our links to social media on there. We've got pictures on there. It's cool. So hopefully you can join us over there. Find us on your favorite streaming apps. Be sure to like and subscribe so that we know you're listening, and tell us what you think. And if you want these to be shorter, we can make them shorter. We just chop them up and do 3 a week, 3 half-hour
Lovely.
ones every week. Honestly. But thanks for
Yeah.
listening.
We've got socials, Facebook and Instagram. Both are just Girls Across the Pond on Facebook and on Instagram. Give us a like, give us a follow. Tell us what you think. If you have any weird quirks, we would love to hear them. If you have any irrational fears or existential thoughts, because we kind of talked about that for a lengthy amount of time too, I would love to know them. Please keep me up at night. I need more reasons apparently to stay up at night. Thinking about them. And if you're learning a language, be sure to let us know what you learned this week in your language, and any of those rapid fire questions. If you think there is a subject in school worse than science, please let us know.
It is. And I have a very fun bit coming up on parenting, things that I did to you as a parent things that we handled as a family and how it affected you, whether you liked it or hated it. And so I think that would be very interesting to any moms who are listening for sure.
And next time,
Maybe for
we're
kids.
also, just for some fun banter, I'd like to look at some logic puzzles too, because I was
Oh
saying
yeah, totally.
I love doing logic puzzles in my free time, and I've just recently come to learn that I'm surprisingly good at them. I thought I was average at them, but like I had some of my friends do them, and uh, my speed was significantly faster and more accurate than a lot of people doing them. So I just thought it'd be fun for us to do some.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Actually, let's do that.
Have you ever done logic puzzles?
No, mm-mm.
Very
Sudoku is
fun.
the most.
I mean, that's logic.
A little bit, I guess. But yeah. Okay, so come back and join us next week.
Awesome. We'll see you in our next episode. Bye bye, everyone.
Do svidanya.
안녕히 계세요.